Hi everyone, Kat here. Happy New Year! We made it through 2022. It was certainly a challenging year for the Royals with the Netflix and the podcast and Harry and Meghan's antics all through the year, notwithstanding the death of the Queen. And now Charles has had to step up. And starting the new year, he's still setting the tone for his new reign. And he's already got a lot on his plate. In less than 10 days, Harry's book Spare will be released. Now, from what I've heard recently, it's going to be less directed at Charles and Camilla than first thought. And the emphasis, I think, is going to be on his relationship with William. And by extension, William and Kate, the Prince and Princess of Wales. And any vitriol spewed their way by Harry is not going to go over well with William or with Charles the King. And the palace as an organization, an institution. It's not going to go well. So I'm sure they're bracing themselves for what's to come. I'm sure they're going to be very interested to see what Harry has to say. Don't think this one's going to do Harry any favors. And just when we thought things with Andrew were sort of done and dusted and he's off to the side, turns out the gag order that was imposed on Virginia Giuffre during her court case with Andrew is going to be lifted in just a couple of days. You know, he had the court case stopped by paying her off so she'd go away and shut up. Well, the gag order's being lifted. And knowing what kind of a gal, she doesn't shy away from controversy or putting herself out there. So I'm sure we're going to hear from her, which brings the whole Andrew scandal back into the forefront again. So this is going to be a challenge for Charles for sure. That's not going to be anything he wants to deal with. And we have apparently, I've heard that Meghan now is writing some kind of a tell-all scandalous book, and I don't have any idea of the release date or anything like that. But the one good bit of news, since the Netflix docu-craporama aired, even the even the American press is starting to cotton on to what kind of a person Meghan Markle really is. The series was panned by critics as being self-serving, condescending. It's all a setup. I mean, they didn't even film in their own house. We know it's all fakery and the pictures of the kids, and I mean, it was just nauseating. And it hasn't gotten good reviews. And the kind of luster of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex is starting to tarnish, and the American press is starting to report on that. So that's a good thing. But going into the new year, Charles faces challenges. The King faces challenges. 52% of the British public want Harry and Meghan to be stripped of their Duke and Duchess titles. And I used to agree with them. I was calling for that myself, although now I've changed my mind and I'll tell you why. If they strip them, if he strips them of their titles, they'll it'll just give them an excuse to jump up and start screaming and shouting again. Oh, they're racist. They took away our titles. They're so mean. It'll just give them fuel. The other thing that it would do is if they take away the Duke and Duchess, of course, Harry is and always will be a prince. Prince Henry is his formal name. Well, Meghan would thusly be known as Princess Henry. And you know the Henry would last about 3 days. It'd be Princess Meghan. And since Princess has a higher status than Duchess, that wouldn't bother them a bit. Outwardly, they might make a little bit of a stink about it, but inwardly, she'd be going, yeah, I'm a princess now. So I don't see the point now. I think it would be kind of playing into their hands. This is what they want to happen because it would serve their victim narrative. What I think that Charles should do instead, strip them of their HRH. Take that away. That is the real status symbol. Right now it's in abeyance. They're not allowed to use it, but they still retain it. I think he's got to strip them of their HRH to make a point not only to them, but to the public and to the Commonwealth and everybody who's concerned about this, that he's doing something. The second thing I think he's got to do, and this is rather radical, but there is precedent for it. I don't know if they can take away his British citizenship, but they should ban them from the British Isles. You're not allowed to come back. You're done. We're done with you. You can't come back. And very interesting, if you've watched any of my videos on the time loop, this falls right into it because this is exactly what they had to do within about the same time frame, couple of years, with Wallis and Edward. They had to strip away the HRH and they had to ban them from England. They ended up living out their lives in the south of France and New York City. But they were never allowed back on British soil. Now, upon the Duke of Windsor's death, he was allowed to be buried back in Britain, I believe at St. George's Chapel. No, I think he's at Frogmore. That's right. He's at the cemetery at Frogmore, and Wallace Simpson is there as well. That's right. But they did bring them back and bury them in England. But for the lives they led, they were never allowed back in England, and I think this is what Charles has to do. It sounds harsh and radical, but this is what has to be done. And just as with Wallace and Edward, I mean, they always had their hangers on. They always had their supporter and a small circle of friends that were around them. Meghan and Harry may well have that as well, but in not too long a time, they were irrelevant. You know, nobody talked about them anymore. They, they faded into the background, except for popping up here once in a while, and it was an embarrassing display when Wallace and Edward did. And I think much the same kind of a future is what's going to happen with Harry and Meghan should they stay together. But yeah, I think the king's got to be tough and strong and fight adversity, not just ignore it and hope it blows away. they've got to be stripped of their HRH and they've got to be banished from England. And I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens. We'll see what's in the book. We'll see what happens next. All I can say is it's going to be a pretty interesting few months, and the coronation isn't even till May. That's 5 months away, so we've got a lot to look forward to. All right, everybody, Happy New Year again. Have a great day. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.